Oh, that one's gonna
that was
deflect
nice.
through.
Oh my goodness, what a pass and what a goal.
Oh, what a motion.
He's going to have a shot on goal. That's going to go in. What a play.
Hey, everybody, and welcome here to another episode of PK Corner. And Pete Winslow. Along with me is Katie Pierce. And our guest today is the wonderful Britt Wilson from Borp Shockers. Britt, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Pete. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me.
So we were talking a little bit off screen about just, how we're choosing our guests, and it's just a really fun platform to give everybody just a chance to share their journeys and reflect on careers and stuff. And, one of our previous episodes was JC Russo, the legendary goalkeeper for Team USA and many other teams. And he had such a great career spanning over 20 plus years. And now we get to you, Britt, where your career is spanning over how long?
18 months.
18 months. So we're going to get to know Britt here on this episode, and we're so excited because, again, you've been a incredible advocate for people with disabilities, all throughout your life, but now you're just getting into power soccer. And so we're really excited, especially since you also just had gone to summer camp last year for your first time and, nationals, last year as well. So we're just really excited to see your journey unfold. But it's a lot different than some of our previous guests who've been playing for, 6, 12, 20 plus years. So I guess the first question is, how did you get into the sport? Because like I said, I mean, we've talked before where you actually lived here in Minnesota for a while and we just never crossed paths somehow. And all of a sudden, you've moved out to California and now you're playing with the Borp Shockers. So how did all of that start?
Yeah, great question. So, like you mentioned, Pete, I actually grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in St. Cloud, and then I went when I was like around 21, 22, I moved to St. Paul, and I lived there for over a decade. And I had probably first heard about power soccer through a friend, Lorena, whose son plays. Ollie, he plays. And we have the same disability, her son and I. And she just watched the way that I zoomed around in my chair and just, felt my energy. And she was like, I really think you should look into power soccer. I think you'd be really good at it. And I was like, yes, I want to try. I was also dating someone at the time who had played power soccer previously for many, many years, but was taking a break. And they had been trying to get me to watch forever, like online and things. And so there were just people in the universe that were like, you need to be playing this. When I was in Minnesota, I remember trying to get a hold of y'all's team and like try to, check it out and everything, but it just didn't work out. And, knowing what I know now that Minnesota has, the best team in the country, I'm like, dang, what I could have been, no, I love my and they're amazing, but it's just kind of funny how I had, access to that to y'all and had no, real idea. And then about a year and a half ago, I moved to Oakland, California, and I was at an event and a member, my teammate Margaret, came to this event and was like, hey, I'm on the power soccer team. We really need people. Like, if you're interested, come to the gym this Saturday. We're going to practice. And I just took that as my sign. Like, okay, someone who's actually on the team, like I can just go there. I know a time and place. So I went to practice and I got in a chair right away. And I love speed. I'm a speed demon, that's for sure. Like it's always one of my number one criteria when I'm getting a new wheelchair. I'm like, which one goes the fastest? Like we're gonna start there. And people laugh at me, but I'm really serious. So I get in the chair, in the power soccer chair, and I spin around and I am obsessed. It moves so fast. Of course, I have no like real skill yet at how to control it, and I'm like all jerky and stuff, but they had set up this obstacle course that they were like weaving in and out of the cones, and so they were like, give it a try, and I like made it through, and everyone was like, whoa, have you like never really done this before? And I'm like, no. And so the rest is history. I was hooked.
And I will say, just from watching, for any of y'all that haven't watched Britt drive her power soccer chair, it's actually an incredible experience because Britt, you've you've driven your chair in a way that I've never seen any power soccer player drive their chair, in the way that like somehow you get your chair to like skid like one of those cars in the Fast and Furious movies that are just like somehow they're drifting sideways, and like
She's an F1 driver.
yeah, nothing scientific matters except for Britt's driving, and it's just like, how did she do that? She's only been playing for 18 months, and I'm like, I don't even do that.
Thank you. That's a big compliment. Yeah, I just love it.
Like, are you a big competitive person? Like when it comes to just like, I know you like the speed and stuff, but like, what is it like that really lit that fire for you? Because again, that I feel like sports in general, but definitely power soccer can really open up doors for people to really feel the competitive side to themselves.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been in sports before, but never with all disabled folks. In middle school, I was in softball, and in high school, I was in swimming. And, it was fun, but it wasn't anything that I like continued beyond that. And when I started power soccer, my competitive nature really came out. I mean, I want to win, and I want to be as good as I can be, and I want my team to be as good as we can be as well. And I think for me, there's no other sport that's specifically for wheelchair users. And I think there's a really big kinship within our power soccer community. And I mean that well beyond my team. I know we'll get there with nationals, but I remember the first time I got to a tournament, just a local tournament, and like seeing all the people with disabilities and being an advocate myself, I feel so much excitement, so much love, and so much fire. And it really is, of course, such a team sport. Like we're all rooting for each other. And it's so funny because, you play your friends and then you watch each other too. And it's like you don't know who to root for because like you have homies on both sides. And honestly, I think one of the most interesting things about this sport that I didn't quite expect is kind of how much it imitates life. I noticed that there's certain traits that I have in life that come out in soccer. Sometimes I can be a bit impatient. Sometimes I'm, super loud. I have like a mean mug and I had no idea. Like there's just things that you really learn about yourself and how you work with others that I think there's some things you can only learn in sports. There's also something really beautiful about working with just like our body minds, because everybody has a different way that they work their chair, a different way that they move their body. Um, and that's really beautiful. Not everyone is able to do the same thing. And when we're able to come together and we're able to work and find that synergy, like that's incredible. And I think that just makes me a stronger team player in life in general. And aside from that, again, just the kinship, there's such beautiful friendship and love. And I think that that is resistance. And when we're in a time, like we're in a time right now when a lot of the laws that protect us are shaky. Um, I'm thinking like Section 504. Um, you know, Being able to come together in a sport where you can kind of forget all of that, where you can find joy in the game and in each other, like that is resistance. And I love that.
I always ask like other young athletes, like, how is it that you're able to be, a competitive athlete, and how does it feel at such a young age to get, into our sport and that kind of thing? Obviously, things are a little different in your situation, with you starting, as late as you did. So, how is it? Have you seen like it impact you that way since like you've already lived a lot of life, just not a lot of power soccer life? Sorry, I didn't. That made that made it sound like you're old. You're not old. Sorry.
It's okay,
But
Pete. No
but but most of the power soccer athletes are, living their life with power soccer, kind of at the same time.
Yeah,
Um,
so I'm a geriatric player. I understand. No, I'm kidding.
oh no.
No,
So
Good.
is he. It's
I'm totally just playing with you.
No, Katie's right.
Yes, so I'm 38 and I started playing when I was, yeah, 37, which is much later, like you mentioned. And what's it been like? I don't know. I only really know my experience, of course, to draw from. I think I'm so happy that I found it now, and I'm like, dang, I wish I would have found this when other people found it, right? And I wonder what my life or trajectory in this sport would have been. But life is what it is, and I feel like I found power soccer and joined a team when I was supposed to, right? And so for me, I'm just like riding the wave, and like I think it's also like an interesting part about the sport too, is because there's such an age range in players, And so, yeah, although I may be, older than some of the more really experienced players, it is like this intergenerational community that like it is really cool, and it's fun because like we learn from each other in different ways, like I may be learning power soccer moves from like someone who's 18, and they're learning like, hey, how did you go to college and like find a PCA from me, and so like in that kind of way, I guess I haven't thought about it like this, but in that way it's been really really amazing. And um I don't think about my age too much because I know that my spirit is just uh, bright. And for me, it's all about just the game and the community, And yeah, I feel like in a way I fit right in. And it kind of just feels like I've always been there in a way. I just feel such a part of community. It's been beautiful. So yeah, 18 months and counting. And in some ways it feels like I've been here for, 18 years. I don't know.
No, absolutely. And I feel like that's a thing that, people see in every organization where, someone might be newer, but it's like, man, it feels like I've known you my whole life kind of thing. And that's kind of the beautiful thing here with power soccer. I feel like that's one of the strong bindings that we all have where it's like, yeah, I may not have known you history wise as long, but like it feels like we click right away because we've lived a lot of similar things, gone through similar things. And I just think that's a really awesome, sometimes unspoken thing from power soccer that you don't necessarily see on the surface level when we're playing. So obviously, you're a high-powered athlete now in power soccer. And I feel like, when we were growing up watching sports or just like being around people, we all had people that we wanted to be like. So did you have any athletes that inspire you or that you look up to or really admire for, whatever qualities that those may be?
I didn't grow up watching like a lot of sports, to be honest. I wasn't the kind of sporty girl. I was more of the like femme makeup-y type of girl. Um, and so I'm trying to think if there were any like athletes that like come to mind. I grew up watching like figure skating. There was a figure skater, Christy Yamaguchi, that I really loved, and I guess I loved just her work ethic and how effortless she made figure skating look. Um, yeah, I don't have I didn't grow up again with a lot of sports. So other heroes that I can think of or people that I really like, I guess admire, would be people like Judy Human, who's a disability activist that passed. I really looked up to Judy. Another person that's really coming to mind is Lois Curtis, who was really instrumental in getting the Olmstead Act passed, which basically mandates that we should live in the least restricted environment in our communities. Um, who else? I'm trying to think. One more person. I think someone who's just been on my mind a lot has been my dear friend that we lost this year, Alice Wong. Um, More recent people that I really look up to, but yeah, Alice was an incredible advocate and someone that I really, really miss. And I just think about, yeah, how much of an impact Alice has, on the whole world, and the way that she was able to like bring stories from our community, and make them really visible. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great like batch of people. Because like you said, right? Like power soccer, imitates life too, right? So we bring in a lot of things that we've learned from power soccer into how I am as a person outside of it and vice versa. And so last year you said that was your first nationals, right?
Yes.
So I always love to get people's first. And I kind of remember having this conversation with you there, but for our PK Corner audience, what was it like for you showing up to that, Turnstone Center, just seeing all the chairs and all the vans and all the everything? I mean, again, it could be very overwhelming, I think, for new people, but like as soon as you see it, like most people are like, dang, this is cool.
Yeah, it was such an adventure just getting there. I never been to Indiana before, and so even just getting there was an adventure, like I said. And so I'm thinking about like first time going into the gym. It's just like a huge gym. There's multiple courts going on, wheelchair users everywhere, soccer chairs everywhere, noise everywhere. It was definitely overwhelming and like, whoa, this is happening, and also really exciting and invigorating. Um, this is kind of something that I think is kind of funny and just so makes me so me. And it's one thing that I've noticed in power soccer is that there's some disabilities that are more common than others in wheelchair users, like CP is a common one, and arthrogryposis is another. And arthrogryposis is my disability. And growing up, I didn't know anyone with my disability. And it wasn't till about 5 or 6 years ago that I went to conference and really to AMC conference and met others. So it was one of the coolest things when I started playing, and then when I went to nationals, and I could just pick out all the people that have AMC, and I just was the weirdo that was like go up to people and like, "Hey, do you have AMC? Oh my gosh, I do too!" And like it was so funny because I was trying to orchestrate an AMC picture, which it didn't work out, but this year it's gonna happen. Um, so that was one thing I remember right away. I was like trying to find out who all the AMCers were. Um, Apart from that, it's really amazing to see the incredible sportsmanship that just goes on. Like, again, someone for me who hadn't played sports before, people put everything into playing soccer, and sometimes people's energy is completely depleted after, and I just ended up having so, of course, so much respect for folks. I think for me playing, it was so funny. Just every time I just had such butterflies, so nervous. First time I was meeting you, Pete. First time I was meeting all like the folks from, Team USA and stuff. And as someone super new to the sport, it was so cool. I think one other thing about my age is I'm really grateful that I'm this age because I feel a lot more confident and fine just going up to people and saying hi and introducing myself. And I don't know if I would have been that confident as a youngin.
Do you
Um,
do you remember our first interaction?
I feel like I just came up to you and was like, "What's up?"
I I was going around the track as most people do to like scout games and just like look at, different matchups and stuff. And you came zooming out of like my peripherals in your strike force. It was just like shoom. And it was like, hey, stop. I need to introduce myself to you. And I was like, oh, hi. And that's again, that's you in a nutshell, I feel like, and it was awesome.
I think the last couple things I'll just say about nationals is I left feeling just my heart so full and exhausted. I had met so many new incredible people, like both you and Katie. Um, And I think I just left with more hunger and thirst for the game, and for the sport. And I was just like, okay, this time next year, I am going to come back and we're going to be even better. The highlight for me, though, was saving my team from relegation at the final, at the end.
Continuing now, Hernandez on the ball, face-to-face with Rogers at the top of the box. Hernandez and Rogers. Hernandez plummeting through, going straight at goal, right at Chafee. Can she work her way around? Slight contact on the guards. Trying to rush it in. There it is, that's over the line. Referee calls for a goal. Hernandez feeling the passion in overtime.
We were in overtime and I got the goal. So that was the highlight for me. And as a rookie, it was a way to, just celebrate. And it's hilarious because I was so overjoyed that I actually was like screaming with joy and you could hear it on the tape. And it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I will
That's
definitely
amazing.
I will definitely try to put that in here as we talk about it. Yeah, no, that is incredible. I do remember that because I think I heard you from 3 or 4 courts away.
Yeah.
Um, but that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, what a first memorable nationals on so many different levels. And like I said, it's just, as you keep going, it's one of those things where like, and Katie, I'm sure you can speak to this as well with big tournaments that you've been a part of just like, it sucks it's ending, but you're so looking forward to coming back next year to, to see how your team does, to see how you play. And like I said, it can be it can be a down because it's done, but like, that like, we're coming back.
Yeah, better next year.
Pivoting to a whole different kind of scenario is your first year at soccer camp too. That's a big deal because that is about as low stakes as it can get compared to nationals. But it's one of the best things that we do every year. I always say that. And like I said, I mean, as soon as I saw you at nationals and you were like, I'm going to camp, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is exactly what a person who is new to the sport needs, is to come off that high from nationals and then go to one of the greatest weeks of power soccer, that we can have.
As again, a rookie, I really just jumped in and tried to take every opportunity, and I could not say enough positive things about my experience at camp. First of all, as I said, I had moved to Oakland, and so it was the first time I was back in Minnesota. And so it was amazing to be at camp, and I just it's on the lake. You like hear and see the loons and get to watch the sunset. I mean, that's like, I loved that every single night. But power soccer was, of course, the main reason why we were there, and it was amazing. It's such a great way to get more one-on-one time with super experienced players, right? And to get to try new things. You're playing with all new people as well, and it was also a memorable moment. Remember when you were teaching us how to do your spin kicks, and I did a full 360 and didn't hit the ball, and you laughed at me, and I felt so silly in front of like the just amazing expert. But guess what, Pete? I never gave up. I took your advice because you were also really sweet and like gave me a lot of pointers. And I can actually spin kick now.
Really good. I look forward to seeing it. I look forward to seeing you score tons of goals at nationals because of this newly found worked on spin kick. And honestly, spinning in a full 360 and not hitting the ball, we've all been there, right, Katie?
Oh yeah.
We totally have. And it was definitely a memorable moment for me and gave me motivation to be like, I got this. I can do this.
It's just like I said, it's a beautiful time to get together with people and laugh at things like that, but then also be able to work on them and then you can, see it in real time that like you've come a long way. So
And I think a couple other highlights are, everyone gets to play Team USA, right? We get to each have a game with y'all. And I think that was a highlight as a rookie. Again, it was so fun to play. And I remember just some one-on-one battles that were pretty epic. And, it just feels really accessible. We get to just play all day. And, the other thing I wanted to mention was karaoke is, I mean, iconic, and both of you sang and were incredible. And, it's a lot of fun. You're basically playing hard and like partying hard, of course, in a very like wholesome way, and I just love that. And then of course, again, you're on the lake, so.
outside of power soccer, you've got incredible life and a lot of other things that you are very, very involved with. So, what are you doing when you're not playing power soccer? Because, like I said, we know you are an incredible activist for the disability community, among many things, many hats that you wear. So fill the folks in on just like, what does Britt do when she's not in her chair spinning?
Like you said, I've been doing a lot of disability advocacy, which I got into in 2019. And right now I'm an organizer with Hand in Hand, the Domestic Employers Network. And what I do is I organize folks who are on like Medicaid, who hire home care attendants through that program. And I work specifically with people in California. There are a lot of cuts that are being proposed in the budget this year in California specifically. And so what I'm doing this year is protecting against Medicaid or Medi-Cal, as we call it here. I take people with disabilities and seniors and caregivers, people who are on these programs and services, and help take them to the Capitol to testify in front of committee members and at hearings, and also just speaking with their legislators. I've in my history worked on a lot of bills, especially in Minnesota. I helped eliminate the asset limit for MAEPD, the Medical Assistance for Employed People with Disabilities program in Minnesota. I served on the Subminimum Wage Task Force as well in Minnesota. And I've just worked on other bills with the union in Minnesota, the Home Care Union, SEIU. And I just love what I do. I love using my experience as an advocate and as a communicator to teach those skills to other people to empower them. We are in a little bit of a shaky time in terms of disability rights as a country. And this past summer, HR 1 passed, and that cut billions of dollars from healthcare. And so that means that there's going to be a lot of disabled folks across our country who may not have access to healthcare anymore. And that can be really scary when, as we rely on our wheelchairs and home care to be able to live in our homes, right? And so for me, teaching people about how their story can be really powerful is really important. We all have like skills and talents, and we all have lived experience. You realize that we actually have a lot of power, and that it is our, in some ways, if we can, right, a responsibility to care for our community. And so that's a little bit about what I do. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that I am a 2026 AAPD, American Association of People with Disabilities, Paul G. Hearn awardee. Basically, I won this national award this year, and they are giving me $15,000 to implement a storytelling project to save Medi-Cal in California. And so what I'm doing this
That's
year.
amazing.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing this year is I'm organizing a storytelling project. I'm finding people in California and providing barrier-free ways for them to go to the Capitol. So if someone wants to do this and they need airfare or food or attendant services, we are able to provide that for free to get folks there. So if you are listening to this and you live in California, let me know. I'm definitely hitting up all the power soccer players. So you all been warned.
No, that's awesome,
As
Britt.
you
Like,
should.
yeah, like we said, I mean, that's all the stuff that you've done and are doing is so amazing. And it impacts us in so many ways. And like I said, I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs of all the moving parts that, you work on, but I mean, it's just so incredibly important for the power soccer players that we get to do this because there are people like you that are standing up for us and doing the things that need to be done, saying the things that need to be said. And I guess that leads me to the next question of just like why you think power soccer is important, because like you've seen what it gives to people and how it impacts people, and it's a thing that's needed. I think that so I just wanted to hear your perspective is on just like, because you even said earlier, like just seeing just the different array of, disabilities that power soccer serves, is quite incredible. So I just would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, sports are needed. I think sports are one of the things that unites the world. And people with disabilities are the largest minority. And so absolutely, we should be part of that, right? Um, I think that this sport is and can be a channel for people to, yeah, channel that positive energy, I think um again, the kinship that is in the power soccer community is unmatched. And I don't know if that is how it is in other sports because we really are a family. We really care about each other. And I think it goes beyond the court. I know that it does. We care about each other and are in each other's lives when we're not playing as well. And I think about people with disabilities, like in general, and like how we have survived historically and still today is by relying on each other. And so, again, I'm picking up power soccer tips and asking people about life and learning from them, and they're doing the same. And there's so much wisdom in disabled body minds that I think is invisibilized and um is valued in mainstream culture. But the way that we've learned to survive, the way that we've learned to care for one another is in essence what the whole world needs.
No, eloquently said. That was beautiful. And again, those are the kinds of things that um, sometimes it takes us to step back a moment just to realize what we do have. And yeah, like I said, it impacts us all in different ways, but like it brings us together regardless. And so what you said there was absolutely perfect. Um, but with that, we're gonna take a quick break. But when we come back, Britt's gonna answer Katie's rapid fire questions, hard hitting questions, I should say as well. So we'll be right back here on PK Corner.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are now going to start rapid fire. So, Britt, the first question is, who is the funniest person on your team?
Who is the funniest person on my team? Ruby.
All right, that was quick. What does she do? Like,
I just love Rue. She is just funny. We just laugh about things. I feel like we are just two girls that got each other's back. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I could just look at Rue and like say something and we'll just be like laughing about it all practice. Like, I don't know.
I love that.
And she's great at one-on-one too. Like she's a really great player. So,
Next one is, what's your comfort show or movie? Either one.
ooh, my comfort show or movie. Oh, I'm such a YouTuber. So I think instead of a show, it would just be like YouTube vlogs. I love watching people's lives and like those like vlogs playing in the background. Yeah.
Right. Next one is, what are three things you would bring if you were stranded on an island?
My wheelchair, a backup generator, and sunscreen.
As
Nice.
you should. Those are great answers.
Thanks.
Okay. Next one is, who is your number one artist on Spotify Wrapped?
Uh, Olivia Dean. I love her so much. So
Oh
much.
my gosh, she's one of my top 10 too. That's awesome.
Best.
All right. Next one is, what food do you crave after a game?
Probably a burger.
Fully agree on that one. Fully agree. Uh, all right. You talked about this like a little bit in Pete's segment, but next one is, who is your favorite power soccer athlete?
Who is my favorite power soccer
And,
athlete?
and this
I'm gonna
excludes your team.
say
This
my girl.
excludes your team.
Okay, I
Oh
think
yeah, I forgot to say that.
Kendall. Kendall's my favorite.
Next one is, who on your team would do the best if they were in the Hunger Games?
Probably Ian.
Is there a reason why, or is it just like vibes that
I
he'd
feel
do the
like
best?
he has enough patience to like he would make it fun. I feel like he'd make it fun.
Next one is, so imagine like you're on Team USA, you're in the final of the World Cup, and you get to choose your walkout music. What song are you choosing?
I don't know. Black Eyed Peas, Let's Get It Started.
Oh my God, that was like on my Prumba playlist.
I love this, Katie. We need to change. We need to exchange apparently.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
What a
All right.
poll.
Next one is you kind of already talked about this as well. But what is your best power soccer highlight?
Yeah, saving our team from relegation at nationals as a
Yes. The next one is from our last guest, Stanley. And he asked if animals could talk, which ones would be the rudest?
I think a hyena would be the rudest.
That's fair. They weren't great in Lion King, so from there.
Exactly.
Okay, the last one is what is a short-term goal and a long-term goal for your power soccer career?
A short-term goal is that we win our games at our next Battle of the Bay in a couple of weeks. I think we're playing 4 games. So for me, 3 out of 4, we win. And then long term is that we win or like place higher, honestly, than we did last year is what I would love to see. I think that's my long-term goal.
That's pretty good. I like it. Well, that wraps up the rapid fire questions. So thank you for answering all my questions. You did great.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Well, Britt, thanks for joining us, taking time out of your really hectic, busy schedule. We know you're going a million places, a million miles an hour. But thanks for sitting down with us here at PK Corner. We appreciate you and everything you do. And we support you in every which way. And like you said, I'm so glad that you are in the sport. And like you said, it doesn't matter, when you got in, as long as you're in. So I very much look forward to seeing you at tournaments, seeing this amazing kick that you have now. And hopefully we'll get you back on the program here at some point soon.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for having me. This has been a blast. Can't wait to see you both again. And yes, I will have to show off my kick, Pete. I can't wait.
All right, I can't wait either. So that was an episode here with Britt Wilson. Thanks for joining us here on PK Corner. We'll see you next time.
Bye.